At midnight, she discovered an incredible secret when a billionaire CEO asked for one last coffee. The neon lights of the diner flickered with a warm glow as Sarah wiped down the counter, the familiar scent of fresh coffee filling the air. It was just past 9, and the usual hum of chatter had faded into an eerie calm. This was just another Thursday night in small-town Midwestern America, where everyone knew each other's names, but dreams were different. The gap between hope and reality sometimes felt impossibly wide. As she poured syrup over a slice of pie, the corner door creaked open, and in shuffled a man, disheveled yet intriguing. He slumped into a booth, and Sarah caught a glimpse of his worn shoes. She approached, coffee pot in hand, ready to meet another weary traveler. But when she looked closer, she felt her breath hitch. Beneath the stubble and rumpled jacket was a face that boasted wealth. A billionaire CEO, Jake. "Just a piece of pie, please," he murmured, his eyes flickering with something unreadable. With every sip of coffee she served him, Jake's mask slipped, revealing a man burdened by the weight of isolation. He spilled the words from his heart, sharing stories of boardroom battles and lonely hotel nights. Deep down, all that money had left him feeling more lost than ever. Sarah felt warmth in her chest, her own burdens suddenly felt lighter in light of his struggle. "I just miss the simple things," he admitted, glancing around the diner, a bittersweet smile forming. Before she could retreat, he asked, "Join me for one last coffee?" It wasn't just an invitation, but a lifeline dangled in the air. A mix of curiosity and caution knotted Sarah's stomach. Could she really trust this man whose corporate maneuvers had, unbeknownst to her, left families like hers scraping by? As midnight approached, she found herself back at his booth, sharing stories under the low, warm lights. Jake listened intently as Sarah spoke of her dreams: a stable home for Lily and Ben, a life free from the gnawing bitterness of shame that came with needing help. In his eyes, she saw glimmers of understanding, but also the shadow of a man who had once played God in a world where he didn't belong. The realization struck her: he was one of the architects of her town's pain. "Is this how you plan to fix it?" she asked, a fire flickering through her words. His hesitation spoke volumes. Was he here to atone or deceive? Whispers of a redevelopment plan had begun to swirl, and she teetered on the brink of a choice that could alter everything. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." With a deep breath, Sarah wrestled with the duality of Jake's presence. He was the key to a brighter future, or perhaps the largest threat her town had ever faced. As the clock ticked toward 1, a chilling thought took hold: could he possess the power to change them or only solidify their struggles? Her heart raced, caught in the crosshairs of hope and justice. As she glanced into his eyes, a potent question loomed: what would she dare to do for the future of her children? Sarah held Jake's gaze, her heart pounding as the weight of their conversation settled around them. His eyes reflected a mix of vulnerability and defiance, the shattered pieces of a man who once had everything but felt nothing. "Jake," she said, her voice firm yet soft, "do you really believe you can help us fix this?" He leaned back in the booth, fingers drumming nervously on the table. "I know I've made mistakes," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But there's something I've been working on, a plan. One that could bring jobs and money back to this town." Her heart fluttered at the thought, hope flickering like the neon lights outside. "And what is the catch?" she pressed. "Nothing comes for free, especially not from someone like you." Jake sighed, running a hand through his tousled hair. "There's no catch. Just a hard look at what we both can lose. I need someone to believe in this and to help me navigate the community's needs." "Your needs?" The offer hung heavy between them, a bridge stretching across a chasm of skepticism. Could she really trust him? Could he change the course of their lives? Her mind raced through scenarios, weighing each possibility against the backdrop of her children's futures. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her curiosity battling the wariness in her heart. "Your voice, your passion," he said earnestly, leaning forward. "You know the people, their hearts and fears. I've been to so many places, but I only see numbers. I need someone who can translate that for me." Sarah's thoughts spiraled, her instincts clashing with the glimmer of hope he offered. The town had suffered enough under the weight of decisions made far away, and yet Jake's sincerity was disarming, even in its uncertain state. "I'll need time to think," she replied, swallowing hard. As silence enveloped them, the comforting diner ambience felt charged with anticipation. The late-night patrons moved like shadows, unaware of the tense undercurrents in the booth. Sarah studied Jake, searching for clues that indicated his intentions. "Look," he said suddenly, "I know I'm not your savior. But if I can make amends, if I can help even a little, shouldn't I try? This town is worth it." Her heart clenched. "You've seen the pain you've caused. The families like mine," she said, trailing off. A moment of clarity struck, piercing through the heavy silence. "But what does this mean for Lily and Ben? Are they just another statistic in your grand plan?" His expression softened, revealing a hint of genuine remorse. "No. They are the heart of it. I want to help families, not just numbers. I promise you, I'm not here to take any more." Seconds turned to minutes as she weighed his words, her fingertips tapping the table in thought. Suddenly, the diner door swung open, introducing a gust of cold air that sent shivers across her skin. "Sarah?" A familiar voice called from the entrance. It was Mark, her neighbor and friend, his eyes darting nervously between her and Jake. "We need to talk." "It's about the redevelopment plans." Panic washed over Sarah as Mark's expression shifted to concern. What had he heard? Did he know about her secret meeting? Would this all crumble before she could even decide? As he approached, the stakes felt impossibly high, and a wave of uncertainty crashed over her. How would her choice shape not just her future, but also the future of everyone she loved? "What plans?" she stammered, caught between the comfort of the familiar and the uncertain hold of a stranger. The tension in the air was palpable, and in that instant, Sarah knew the decisions she faced would not only define her own path but the entire town's fate. What would she tell Mark? And how would Jake react to being pulled into the light? Answers were swirling, and time was running out. The next chapter of her life was unfolding, but at what cost? Mark's eyes flicked back and forth between Sarah and Jake, as if trying to piece together a puzzle he wasn't sure he had been invited to solve. "I overheard some chatter at the depot," he said cautiously, lowering his voice. "There are plans to demolish part of the old square. They want to bring in big box stores, and it won't end well for the businesses here." Jake straightened in his seat, a shadow passing over his face. "That's what we were talking about," he said, leaning forward slightly. The urgency in his tone startled Sarah. She'd never seen him like this before. "Like I'm sure you're aware, Mark," Jake continued, "this has been a hard time for all of us. But we're trying to come up with a plan to help bring money and jobs back, not just for us, but for our entire community. We can't let the town be bulldozed." "I'm not sure I trust you, Jake," Mark said, his voice grave. "You have a history in this town. You heard it once. How can we be sure you won't do it again?" Sarah felt her heart drop. This was the very reason she had hesitated, the very trust that now hung in the balance. Would her friends truly believe Jake could change? Would they rally behind him or bury a second chance before it even began? "Because I know I have a lot to make up for," Jake replied, his voice steady now, drawing their attention. "I'm offering more than just words. I want to prove that I can be part of a solution. But I need your help, both of you." Mark glanced back at Sarah, searching for a reaction. She could sense his own conflicting feelings, torn between loyalty and the valid fears that Jake's return had stirred. "Sarah?" Mark prompted. "What do you think? It's your vote that matters now more than ever." Her gut twisted at the thought of being thrust into this without her certainty. What if she sided with Jake and he faltered again? But what if she turned her back on him and he proved to be the catalyst for the change they so desperately needed? Sarah hesitated, words caught in her throat. She finally let out a breath, trying to steady herself. I think we need to hear what he has in mind. If we can stand a chance against these plans, we've got to at least listen, right? I can bring the community together, Jake said, his eyes bright as if he had briefly tapped into a well of conviction. I know I need to earn trust, but we can do this together. We need the town behind us, and I can help you find the right voices. Mark nodded slowly but hesitated. I'll help organize a town meeting. If we're going to give you a shot, we're going to need everyone involved. And you better be ready for some tough questions, Jake. The air shifted slightly, a shift towards something unfamiliar and hopeful. Sarah felt a flicker in her heart as she locked eyes with Jake. There was potential hidden in the chaos of their conversation, and for the first time, glimmers of a plan began to illuminate the shadows. In that moment, the walls of fear she had built began to tremble ever so slightly. She could almost reach for hope, like it was a live wire pulsing between them. I'll need your help too, Sarah, Jake insisted. Your community knows you. You are their heart. Without you, I'm just another outsider with a chance. The weight of his words hit her, the enormity of the responsibility settling on her shoulders. For Lily's future. For Ben's future. It was everything she had fought for, all wrapped up in this one decision, but deep in her stomach, a nagging thought lingered. Could one meeting really change the trajectory of their community? And what if the cost was more than she was ready to pay? Let us do it, she said finally, her voice stronger than she felt. As they gathered their things, Sarah glanced out the diner window. The night felt charged with potential, the world outside a kaleidoscope of uncertainty. They stepped into the future, but at what cost? Just outside, the night air was electric. It buzzed with what could happen and what had to happen. Could they really lead the change? As they walked toward the door, Sarah caught sight of a figure watching them from the shadows. A familiar face she hadn't expected, someone who could disrupt everything once more. What did they want? Sarah squinted against the dim light as her eyes adjusted to the street. The figure stepped closer, revealing a tall silhouette with a confident gait. It was Emma, her childhood friend who had moved away years ago. Though they had drifted apart, Sarah recognized the familiar tilt of her head, the glimmer in her eyes that once sparkled with mischief. Emma? Sarah called out, her voice rising with unexpected excitement. The tension that had been building in her chest dissipated for a brief moment. Sarah. Emma's exuberant response brought a smile to Sarah's face, but it quickly faded as she noticed the anxious look in Emma's eyes. I just got back to town and heard about the meeting. We need to talk. Jake stood by, his interest piqued but his expression wary. The weight of the diner conversation hung thickly in the air, and the unexpected visit added a layer of confusion. What do you know? Jake asked, narrowing his eyes slightly, keen to protect Sarah from more surprises. Emma rocked on her heels, biting her lip. I overheard something important. She took a breath, glancing around as if ensuring no one else was listening. The plans for the square aren't just about the big box stores. There's talks of selling off the entire area to developers. What? Mark's voice cracked, disbelief coloring his tone. Who did you hear that from? Some of the city council members. They think they can just push everyone out for profit. Emma shifted her weight, her nerves bubbling to the surface. And it gets worse. There's a rumor that one of those developers is connected to someone powerful, someone who doesn't take no for an answer. Sarah's heart raced. The evening had already pulled her into a whirlwind, now toppled with Emma's revelation that deepened the urgency of their situation. Do you know who it is? Sarah asked, her voice shaking slightly. Emma hesitated, a flicker of fear crossing her features. I can't say for sure, but I think it's someone involved with the Old Town Square project. They want to demolish it to build these massive stores without regard for community impact. If we don't rally everyone now, there won't be anything left to save. Mark's expression hardened. Then we need to act fast. Organizing a meeting isn't enough if we're dealing with someone powerful. We need the community to know the stakes. Jake stepped in to tighten the circle of their resolve. Let us gather more information before the meeting. We need to know the full scope of what we're facing. As they exchanged ideas, Sarah drifted away from the conversation momentarily. Her mind echoed with the weight of responsibility. The sense of urgency charged the air. How could they fight against something so large? Could they really band everyone together to stand up for their town, and would anyone even care? Emma's voice snapped her back. You have a special connection to this community. You've always been its heart. If we can get your friends on board, we might just have a shot. As the thought settled, a gust of wind brushed past, bringing with it the unmistakable scent of impending rain. The uncertainty loomed overhead like dark clouds. Okay, Emma, Sarah replied, her voice steadying. Let us do it together. We'll reach out, spread the word about the crisis. The group nodded, a tacit agreement forming, but deep down, dread clawed at Sarah. What if their voices didn't reach far enough? A flicker of movement caught her eye again. Another figure, lurking just out of the light, another twist in this tale. As it stepped forward, her breath caught in her throat. What now? Is that? She whispered, eyes wide. The figure stepped into the dim glow cast by the streetlight, and Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. The familiar features sharpened into clarity. It was Adam, the local business owner who had always been vocal about his love for the town square and its history. But there was something different about him tonight. His usual warmth was replaced by an unsettling urgency. Sarah. Everyone. Adam's voice was a mixture of excitement and concern. I heard snippets of what's being planned, and I need to talk to you all. It's serious. What do you know? Jake asked, his protective instincts kicking in again. Adam ran a hand through his hair, clearly agitated. I've been in touch with some people at the council. There's more at stake than just the square. There's talk of impacting the entire downtown area, retail, homes, everything. Developers are coming for it all. What? Mark exclaimed. It felt as if the ground were shifting beneath their feet. Emma nodded, her face pale. That's what I was afraid of. I reached out to a few business owners and the response is overwhelming, Adam continued, glancing anxiously around, his voice barely above a whisper. Several of us are willing to mobilize. We need a rally, Sarah. If you can motivate the community, we might have a fighting chance. Incited by the passion in Adam's eyes, Sarah felt her heart quicken. It felt surreal. Just hours ago, she'd been contemplating the encroaching darkness of their situation, and now there stood a flicker of hope igniting her spirit. Okay, Sarah replied, her voice steadier than she felt. We'll gather everyone. We need to make it clear that there are lives behind these decisions. Jake stepped forward, trying to solidify a plan. If we can organize a meeting that showcases the heart of this community, we can stir people to action. We could even reach out to local media. I'll talk to the folks at the diner, Mark chimed in. They love this place too. They spread the word. As the tension lifted slightly, Emma caught Sarah's gaze and leaned in closer. What if we invite representatives from other communities facing similar issues? Maybe even the press? This could become bigger than what's happening here. An electric thrill surged through Sarah. Yes. We can create a movement, but that hope was abruptly punctuated by the sound of footsteps approaching, a hurried, heavy tread that stopped their discussion cold. A figure emerged from the shadows once more. It was a man in a dark suit, his face obscured by the hood of his jacket. Sarah's pulse raced. Excuse me, he said, his voice deep and firm. I need to speak with you all. This is urgent. Who are you? Jake challenged, stepping slightly in front of Sarah. I can't disclose everything now, but I know who's behind the plans for the square, the man said, his gaze steady yet unsettling. And if you're not careful, things will go south fast for this town, and I'll need you to absolutely trust me. A chill swept through Sarah. This was more than she had bargained for, and now new questions flooded her mind. Was this stranger truly an ally or an enemy in disguise? And what was the cost of uncovering the truth? Wait, Sarah began before the tension thickened, the weight of the uncertain future pressing down on them. Are we really ready for this? Emma whispered, her face a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The man stepped closer, revealing a slight smirk. You might find out sooner than you think. His words lingered in the air like a warning bell as Sarah's heart raced again. What were they about to unleash? A battle for their town or something darker entirely? Sarah stood frozen, her mind racing as the man in the dark suit loomed closer. His presence felt like a storm cloud, heavy and electric, and she could sense the anxiety rippling through her friends. The air was charged with unspoken fears as they exchanged uneasy glances. Trust, Sarah murmured, trying to grasp the weight of the word. Trust was a fragile commodity in times like these. How could she put her faith in a stranger with a half-concealed face and cryptic warnings? What do you know? Jake pressed again, his voice low and demanding. He wasn't about to let this man drive a wedge between them. I know about the developers, the man replied, his eyes scanning the group. They're not just targeting the square, they have plans that would devastate this whole area. They're backed by interests far beyond what you can see. A tremor ran through Sarah's chest. It was a familiar dread all too many in town had felt lurking in the background. And you are? Someone who wants to help, he said, his tone carrying a sincerity that felt uneasy. But you'll need to act fast if you're going to save what's left of this town. Sarah felt a flicker of anger rise inside her. Help? Why should we believe anything you say? What's your angle? His gaze locked onto her, piercing yet unreadable. Let's just say I know what it's like to watch something you love fall apart because of greed. And I know the players involved. You have to be smarter than them. You can't beat them at their own game if you're playing by the old rules. The group fell silent, heavy with contemplation, yet Sarah could feel a spark igniting deep within her. Okay, she said, forcing resolve into her tone. So, what do we do? The man pulled out a small notepad covered in neat scrawls, handing it to Adam. Here are the names and contacts of a few key people. You need to connect with them. They've got resources, connections, and most importantly, influence. But remember, you can't afford to draw too much attention to yourselves just yet. As Adam flipped through the notes, Sarah could see the fire returning to his eyes. We'll organize, but we can't do it alone. We need to involve everyone: business owners, families, the kids who play in the square. This town thrives on community. Watching Adam rally their spirits filled Sarah with a sense of purpose. This was the heartbeat of their town, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like they were on the brink of something powerful. Are you in, or are you out? Jake shot at the stranger, determination written on his face. The man's smirk faded. I'm in. But remember, there are people who will do anything to keep their plans under wraps. You might want to watch your backs. Great, Emma said. We need to make sure everyone knows what's at stake before it's too late. Time is ticking, the man said, his tone darkening. And trust me, once you wake the beast, there will be no going back. With that, he turned and stepped back into the shadows, leaving them with more questions than answers. Let us get to work, Sarah urged, her heart pounding with renewed energy. We have a town to save. But as they broke away from the streetlight and began discussing their plans, a question nagged at her. What would they be forced to sacrifice to uncover the truth? Can we handle what's coming? She wondered aloud, knowing deep down that this struggle would cost them all in ways they couldn't yet imagine. And as the darkness enveloped them, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time, against hidden forces far stronger than any of them expected. The first rays of dawn pierced through the thick canopy of trees, illuminating their small town with a golden glow. Sarah felt a jolt of energy as she gathered her friends at the cafe, the scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the crisp morning air. She could see the determination etched onto their faces. They were ready to act. Jake leaned over the table, his hands gripping the edges. We need a plan. We can't just sit back and wait. The developers are probably already plotting. Sarah nodded, her heart racing. Okay, we split up. Someone has to meet with the contacts in that list. The more people we get involved, the better our chances. Agreed, Adam chimed in. I can go talk to some of the business owners. If they realize what's at stake, they'll want to protect their livelihoods too. Emma, always the planner, pulled out a notepad. I can coordinate the outreach. We need to get the kids and families on board. We have to meet everyone where they are, make it personal. It felt exhilarating to see them so driven. Sarah believed in the strength of community. Let's make a timeline. We meet back here at 6 tonight, and by then, we should have some concrete progress. The thought of working together sparked a fire in each of them, but as the meeting continued, a subtle tension crept in. The shadows of uncertainty loomed ever closer. Later that day, Sarah found herself walking down the sidewalk, her mind whirling. She couldn't help but think about the man in the dark suit. Did he really want to help, or was there something darker behind his intentions? Each step forward felt heavier, a battle between hope and doubt. Are you sure about this? A voice broke her thoughts. Turning, she saw Jake jogging to catch up with her. I don't know, Jake, she admitted, looking down at her feet. What if he's right? What if we end up making things worse? We're already in this deep. We can't back down now. We have to stand up for what we believe in, he encouraged, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. His sincerity warmed her, yet another worry began gnawing at her. But what if we end up risking too much? What if it's more than we can handle? Jake's jaw tightened. We can't think like that. If we don't fight back now, we lose everything. The town, our families. This is about more than just us. It's about preserving our home. His words resonated with her, sinking into her heart. The stakes were high, and they were indeed fighting for their place in the world. But would it be enough? Throughout the day, she watched each of her friends tackle their tasks. Every phone call made, every door knocked, brought them a step closer to uniting the town against the looming threat. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a sense of cautious optimism colored their conversations. But as evening approached and shadows lengthened, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of dread curling in her stomach. With each passing minute, the weight of the unknown pressed against her, suffocating yet familiar. What if they brought the wrath of the developers upon themselves? When the clock struck 6, they gathered in the cafe once more, a circle of hope and fear. As Adam spoke about their outreach, a new message buzzed on Sarah's phone, an unexpected name flashing across the screen. The man in the dark suit. Her breath caught. Guys, he wants to meet with me. He says it's urgent. Again? Jake's eyes widened. Are you really considering it? I don't know, she hesitated, the uncertainty swirling in her mind. But what if this is the key to stopping them? The group fell silent, each of them waiting for her decision. In that moment, Sarah realized the choice she had to make, and it terrified her. I have to go, she finally said, the weight of the truth setting her spine straight. What would she discover in the depths of the darkness with him? As she stepped out into the cool night air, her heart raced. The stakes were higher now than ever, and the answers she sought might change everything forever. Would she be prepared for what lay ahead? The night wrapped around Sarah like a heavy blanket, thick and suffocating. She moved quickly through the dimly lit streets, her mind racing as she replayed the last conversation with her friends. They believed in their cause, in the power of community, but what if the man in the dark suit wasn't who he claimed to be? With every step toward the cafe where they'd arranged to meet, her heart drummed louder, drowning out the sounds of the town settling into night. The soft glow of street lamps flickered above her, casting shadows that danced at her feet. As she approached the entrance, a chill ran down her spine. Could she truly handle whatever he wanted to discuss? The door swung open before she reached for it, revealing the man who had haunted her thoughts since their last encounter. The crisp line of his suit and the sharpness of his gaze made him seem out of place in their sleepy town. Sarah, he greeted, his voice low and smooth. Thanks for coming. The cafe was mostly empty, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound mingling with her unease. She nodded, trying to project confidence. What do you want? You said it was urgent. He gestured for her to take a seat, and as she settled into the booth, her hands gripped the edge tightly. I know what's happening here. Your friends are mobilizing, trying to rally the community against the development. Her stomach twisted. And? Are you here to threaten me? To expose them? Because I don't want that, he interrupted, his expression softening. I want to offer you a solution. You think I'll just take your word for it? She was defensive, every instinct screaming to dismiss him. I've seen the impact these developments have had on other towns, he replied, his voice earnest. There's a way to protect what you care about, but it requires compromise. Sarah crossed her arms, skepticism creeping back in. Compromise? Is that what you call it? Selling out? He sighed, leaning in closer. You don't know everything yet. If you truly want to save this town, you might need to think bigger than just grassroots opposition. This developer, he has power, influence. You stand a better chance working with us than against. And who is us exactly? She challenged, staring him down. Let me show you. He fished out a small device, placing it on the table. It was an inconspicuous tablet. This has details about the development, the financial benefits it could bring to the community, and how you could be at the forefront of it all. Her eyes narrowed. You think I'd betray my friends? My family? Not betrayal, Sarah. A strategic choice. You can guide how this development unfolds. It can be done in a way that respects the community's voice. Intrigue fought with her distrust. A part of her wanted to see what he was offering. Maybe there was a valid plan within his words. Yet, the other part, the one fueled by loyalty, screamed at her to walk away. Show me what you have, she finally said, a tremor of uncertainty lacing her voice. Maybe she could find a way to use this information without sacrificing her values. She took the tablet, and as she began scrolling through the data, her breath hitched. Each line, every chart spoke of a potential future, but at what cost? But before she could digest it all, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a group message from Jake. They had stumbled upon something shocking, something that could change everything. Hold that thought, she said abruptly, standing up, her mind racing back to her origin, her friends. They had to know this. They had to strategize together. As she hurried out of the cafe, she looked back at him, feeling the weight of her choice. She was teetering on the edge of two worlds. What had she gotten herself into? Would she choose loyalty or venture into the unknown, risking more than she ever imagined? The streets felt different now, almost electric. As Sarah dashed through the parking lot toward her car, her thoughts swirled like leaves caught in a storm. The tablet felt heavy in her hands, filled with promises and risks. Each buzz of her phone pulled her back to reality, a reminder of her friends waiting for her, oblivious to the choices she faced. She dropped into the driver's seat, adrenaline pumping through her veins. Fumbling with the ignition, she glanced down at the screen illuminating her lap. The message from Jake was plain but alarming. We need you. It's about the development. Meet us. She couldn't shake the weight of the man's words. Think bigger. What did that even mean in this context? Wealth and privilege had always been associated with greed, yet his voice lingered in her mind. There was a chance to guide the community's fate. After a short drive, Sarah pulled into the small lot outside her best friend's house. The lights were on, casting a warm glow that seemed inviting. It was a stark contrast to the chilling conversation she had just left. Jake, Jenny, and Max were huddled around the kitchen table, papers strewn everywhere. They looked up, concern etched on their faces. What took you? Jake asked, his voice laced with urgency. I ran into someone who painted a different picture of the development, she said, trying to gauge their reactions. Jenny furrowed her brows. You're kidding, right? We don't have time for distractions. We need a united front. Max leaned forward, his hands balled into fists. We can't let them push us out. They want to pave over everything we love. I know, Sarah interjected. But what if we could influence how things play out? What if this developer isn't as bad as we think? Did you really just say that? Jake looked incredulous. You can't trust anyone associated with them. They just use you. The tension rippled through the air. Sarah felt her heart race. What if it's different? What if we can steer things in a better direction? This man, he believes we have a say in how this development can be constructed. We might have leverage. Leverage? Max scoffed. You don't negotiate with giants, Sarah. They crush you. But we don't know what he knows. He might see the importance of preserving our green spaces. I have his information. She raised the tablet, holding it close. The group exchanged skeptical glances, yet Sarah noticed the glimmer of curiosity in their eyes. Silence lingered before Jake finally spoke. Okay, let us see what he's offering. But if this is a trap, I know the stakes, she insisted, determination washing over her. Let us review this together. As they flipped through the documents Sarah had brought, murmurs of surprise filled the air. The charts depicted projected job growth and investments, but they also highlighted areas of the community that could thrive with conscientious planning. This could be our chance to make them listen, Jenny said, her voice softening. But we have to be careful. The night dragged on as they pored over the information. Sarah could see hope rising, mixed with their usual wariness. It was a balancing act, one that teetered toward the unknown. However, just as they began to form a plan, her phone buzzed again, but this time it was a video call from the man in the suit. Her heart skipped a beat. He was reaching out again. Did he know they were discussing his proposal? Do I answer? She asked, her voice trembling slightly as she stared at the screen. Jake and the others held their breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. What does he want now? Jake whispered. Facing the screen, Sarah felt like she was on the brink of something monumental. Was she truly ready to step into the fire, and what would happen if she did? With trembling hands, she accepted the call. As the screen flickered to life, the man's face materialized, his deep-set eyes piercing through the display. Sarah, he said, his voice oozing urgency, we don't have much time. Decisions are being made as we speak. Her heart raced, thick tension forming at the back of her throat. Jake, Jenny, and Max leaned closer, tension simmering just under the surface. What do you mean? Sarah asked, adrenaline surging through her veins. What decisions? The developers are bypassing usual channels. They're set to move forward at a speed that your community won't see coming, he explained, his tone almost pleading. You still have a window, but it's closing fast. You need to act. Act how? Sarah felt her grip tighten around the tablet, uncertainty gnawing at her. What do you want me to do? Gather your community. Show them the potential of the plan as I laid out, he urged. You need to frame this not just as opposition but as an opportunity. Connect with them emotionally, let them see that they can be part of something bigger. Sarah looked into his eyes, searching for sincerity behind the businessman's bravado. If what he said was true, they really had to unite before it was too late. But could they trust him? Why should we believe you? Jake interjected, his voice strong and guarded. You're tied to this whole mess. I can't change my past, but I can help shape your future, the man replied, a hint of frustration creeping into his tone. This isn't just about one project, it's about how you reclaim your voice. The room fell silent. Sarah could feel the weight of her friend's eyes on her. She thought of her children, their laughter, their dreams, and how all of it was at stake. Okay, she finally said. We'll meet with the community. We'll lay everything on the table. But trust will be earned, not given. Understandable, he said, a note of relief lacing his voice. Just remember, urgency matters. Before she could respond, he added, gather everyone tomorrow evening. I'll arrange for the developers to be present. It's your chance to demand answers. The call disconnected, leaving a heavy silence that felt weighty and charged. Sarah turned to her friends, determination sparking in her chest. We have to do it. We need the town here, the whole community tomorrow night. What if it backfires? Jenny asked, her voice wavering with doubt. Max shook his head. If we don't act now, we'll lose the chance to protect what's ours. A meeting, even with those developers, if they see us united, maybe we can reach a breakthrough. Jake's gaze met hers, the undercurrent of hope resonating between them. We can't afford to play it safe anymore. But it needs to be about real change, not just compromises that benefit a few. Sarah nodded, feeling her heart swell with a mix of hope and fear. We will prepare. We'll gather everyone, and we'll make our stand. The following day unfolded with a frenzy of activity. Sarah connected with neighbors, shared the story with local business owners, and painted a picture of the stakes. One by one, they rallied, buoyed by the light of hope. As the sun dipped low, the cafe brimmed with familiar faces, a surge of energy palpable in the air. When Sarah stood up, the room hushed, anticipation hanging thickly above them. We've been pushed aside for too long, she began, her voice unwavering. But now we have an opportunity, something I never thought we'd face. A chance to voice what our town truly needs, not just our grievances but our future. Gasps of surprise rippled through the crowd, eyes widening with possibility. Sarah pressed on, her heart beating steadily. We cannot allow our home to become just another statistic. Together, we can steer this conversation. We need to make them listen. The room erupted with a chorus of agreement and encouragement, their spirits ignited as they saw the potential within themselves. Then, through the din, the man in the suit entered, his demeanor a stark contrast to the vibrant energy. A hush spread over the room, and all eyes turned toward him. He stepped forward, facing the crowd that had come alive with inspiration. Thank you for gathering here tonight. What you're embarking upon is significant. I believe you deserve to have your needs represented. As he laid out the outline of the development, the townspeople listened intently, grappling with the duality of what was being offered and their desire for preservation. The tension in the room intensified, every gaze locked onto Sarah, who stood rooted in the spotlight, feeling the weight of their hopes and fears. Is there a way for both plans to coexist? Can we preserve what we love while pursuing growth? She asked, her words ringing out with unwavering conviction. The man looked taken aback, processing her question as murmurs of agreement flowed through the crowd. Perhaps, he replied at last. But it will depend on your willingness to engage in honest discussions. I can facilitate a new approach, one that ensures what matters remains intact. We can improve livelihoods while respecting this town's history. Hope blossomed, enveloping the cafe like warmth on a cold night. People began shifting their positions, exchanging glances as the buzz of new possibilities filled the air. This can work, Sarah reiterated, a radiant smile spreading across her face. If we unite, if we demand the right considerations, we create a win-win situation. This is our chance to rebuild, not just on foundations of concrete but on the bonds we've strengthened today. Gradually, the whispers became shouts of encouragement, and Sarah felt the energy swell. The future was uncertain, but with unity came the strength to forge ahead. As the meeting wrapped, she stepped out into the crisp night, the stars shimmering above, a reflection of her heart's newfound hope. Turning back to face her friends, she laughed with joy, tears of relief mingling with excitement. We did it. And together, they took a breath, ready to face whatever came next, knowing they stood on the precipice of something transformative. This was more than their fight, it was the beginning of a shared journey forward, a tale of resilience woven into the very fabric of their community's heart. Only time would reveal the outcome, but Sarah knew one thing for certain: they were no longer just individuals battling against the tide, they were a collective force, fighting for their home, their children, their dreams, and they weren't backing down. And now, as you reflect on this journey filled with hope and transformation, take a moment to act. You need to subscribe now to catch all the exclusive stories we have to share next. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Leave a like that fuels further adventures. Comment below and tell us how this story impacted you, and share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to feel this spark of change. Your engagement is what keeps this community thriving.